What you're about to watch is something that I rarely share publicly. This is the behind the scenes footage from my live luxury rental doctor retreat training. This is where women physicians, pharmacists, dentists, we come together and they're making the biggest financial decisions of their lives. We're working through the exact 4 strategies that my community is using right now to build rental portfolios that throw off 6 figures per property. And that is nearly passive income because of our midterm rental strategy. And I'm breaking down why a $600,000 property that's located in the mountains in Tennessee will save you more in taxes than $1 million beach home. You'll see real students wrestling with real numbers, how much to invest, which market to target, whether to sell underperforming properties. So if you've been wondering what it actually takes to go from full-time W-2 to having income on the side as a luxury rental investor, this is your front row seat to that whole transformation. No scripts, no polish, just the playbook. This is Dr. Rachel Gainsborough, and welcome to the Luxury Rental Doctor Show. Let's begin. Head over to page 27. Based on the amount of hidden money that you have access to or you can gain access to within the next 60 days, I want you to head to the second portion of this page and jot down what is realistic for you in terms of an investing strategy or a hosting strategy. If you have more than $40,000 on hand or you can get access to in the next 60 days, I highly recommend that you purchase. Okay, that you purchase a property, you become a landlord owner. That is my recommendation. That's how we build generational wealth. I am all in on purchasing, hands down. If you have less than $40,000 on hand, I highly recommend considering a midterm rental arbitrage, the reverse arbitrage methodology. If you are an experienced host and you have less than 10K on hand, and you're an experienced host, real estate host, I suggest looking into co-hosting, which is similar to property managing, where you're coming alongside of another investor that has a property and you can create a business around them. If that is within your wheelhouse, if that's something you're interested in. Otherwise, work on building up that cash flow to acquire a property that 40K or more. And if you're an accredited investor, meaning your annual salary is greater than $250,000 a year, net worth greater than $1 million, you have the potential to do passive investing. So that's another category that I want you to be aware of. My struggle with passive investing is the cash flow is not really there. This is more of a tax strategy move because with passive investing, you have opportunities to take depreciation and passive losses, okay? So just letting you know, these are the 4 ways that members of our community are getting into real estate investing. My favorite by far for W-2 earners on the move looking to replace that W-2 or cut back on the W-2. Landlord owner is ideal if you have the capital. However, midterm rental arbitrage is fantastic for the cash flow so that you can build up cash, build up cash, build up cash to get into landlord owner. All roads lead to landlord owner. We're going to talk a little bit about your 10-year plan in a moment. The 10-year plan is adding that passive investing theory or hypothesis into your life as well. So we'll get there in a moment, okay? So that is page 27, and then page 30 is going to round out and complete key decision number 4 for us before we dive into key decision number 5 and 6, okay? Page 30, I want you to take a moment and identify which of these factors resonate with you right now in terms of your intentions for financing your property, okay? I know these are wordy, but these are coming directly from our community, members of our community, and how they have approached financing their property, okay? So the first one says, I've been saving specifically for this investment, so I plan to use that savings to cover my initial and setup costs. If that's you, check that box. The next one says, I plan to apply for financing by utilizing my W-2 work history and my work history and W-2 income. If that's you, check that box. Feel free to check all that apply. I intend to use a combination of savings and a mortgage loan. Check that box if that's you. I plan on using a portion of my current real estate investing portfolio to finance the initial cost. If that's you, check that box. That's for those who are doing 1031 exchanges or cash out refis or HELOCs or HE loans. That's where you're borrowing against a property, so to speak. The next one is, my approach involves partnering with a fellow investor, and we're pooling our resources together. And so there are certain deals that has happened for me when I show up in the rooms. Okay, certain deals that have happened for me when I show up in the room. There's something about being present and being in a space where the deals are being made. So by you showing up at the room, you just never know what relationships will be formed. So keep that in mind. The next one says, I'm considering a short-term financing option like a line of credit. Some other short-term financing options are hard money loans. I've seen those deals happen as well. I don't love hard money loans, but they do come in handy in a pinch. Those are the loans of last resort, in my opinion. Next up, I'm reallocating funds from a less profitable investment to cover the deposit and the setup costs. If that's you, check that box. For those who are considering arbitrage, I'll negotiate with the landlord to spread the deposit over a few months. If you're thinking about that, check that box. If you haven't started thinking about that, check that box because you need to be thinking about that. And if you have any other financing decision ideas that you have in mind, feel free to go ahead and jot that down there once we take a moment to fill that section out, okay? So that was the tail end of key decision number 4. Let's head over to key decision number 5. We're gonna work on it and then, I'm gonna share it with you, teach it with you, and then we're gonna have a moment to work on it ourselves. It's gonna be your turn, okay? Key decision number 5 is on page 31. You guys ready? Okay, awesome. The 2-door strategy involves owning one property that's a short-term rental, one property that's a midterm rental, or a property that we can pivot back and forth. I love a good hybrid short and midterm rental. It definitely fills in the gaps in between my midterm rental times when I have a short-term rental. I find it to be extremely efficient. Over the course of the last 12 months, our hybrid properties have had a combination of 6 days that are vacant over 12 months. So that's meaningful, but that doesn't happen by accident, right? We got to plan it out, okay? So I want you to be set in the best possible position to increase your occupancy and reduce vacancy, and this is what we're going to be doing today. And really with our market analysis, that's the answer to that, okay? All right, so let's talk about your goal financially. We talk about your financing goal, how much you want to spend, but how much do we want to make, right? How much do we want to make? There's Gordon says, I want to make this. I love it. The sky's the limit. All right, so let's talk about it. So ideally, I'd like to gross X in rental revenue during the first 12 months of my launch. Ideally, I'd like to gross X during the first 12 months of my launch of a short or midterm rental. From there, my target financial goal is to generate an annual passive income of X from my real estate investing within the next 10 years. So we're future pacing. How much would you need over the next 10 years so that you could live comfortably, do the things you love, with the people you love the most, when you want to, when you love them. You should always love them, right? When you want to, wherever you want to, have that impact. What does that look like for you? right? So everyone's going to be different, honestly speaking. You know, once your expenses are paid, well, say you have some debt, you're able to clean that up. So what does it look like for you to actually live a life, right? What does your expenses look like? And we can tier it, because for me, I would say I have a really healthy budget when it comes to my vitality package, my self-care. I have a budget for my self-care, right? We want to include that. What does that look like realistically, right? What would make you feel good? So add that in there as well. So not only that, you know, a budget where you're taking care of your four walls, taking care of family, you got kids that are going to college, well, what about you? Right? We've got to put on the mask before we can help others. So what would it look like for you? Is it an extra $10,000 a month in passive income in the next 10 years? Is it an extra $50,000 a month? Is it an extra $100,000 a month in passive income? Feel free to jot that down once we break to the your turn section. Okay, next up is, what is your estimated coverage D amount? What is your estimated coverage D amount? Let me break that down for you a little bit, and you may have questions and I may have to break it down for you a little bit further. When it comes to real estate investing, I love to begin with the end in mind, okay? So I'm not going to go into a market with a grab back property like I did in Alabama. I did try to go into that market with a grab back property where the property's rebuild value, say, were $30,000 or $40,000. Middle America has those types of properties. I know in Ohio, we see a lot of those types of properties as well. Not that they can't make money, but again, I want to begin with the end in mind, right? So if I want to position myself to be in a market where I'm making an extra $100,000 a year on each transaction, I should be looking in markets where the rebuild values are about $400,000 a year. Okay, so let me say that again. I see some eyebrows that went up. If I want to make $100,000 a year per property, okay, this is what I want to make? Gross, of course, gross. Profit has so many factors. If I want to make $100,000 per year gross, well, I can't go to Alabama and purchase a property in that neighborhood where the $17,000 property was, expecting to make $100,000 a year, right? So I need to position myself to look at a little bit more of a higher cost of living market where the rebuild value of the actual structure is about $400,000. Okay, so I back into the deals. I got to go backwards into the deals. Make sense? So is your number, hey, $100,000 a year? Is your number $75,000 a year? What's the minimum that you think you would be interested in? Okay?
The
Yeah.
100,000 to make 100,000, and then you said the rebuild value is 400,000. Are you applying like 25%
100%, yeah.
Is that why?
Yep, 25% of coverage D, yeah. So I know a lot of members did. Who got to join me for the implementation session? I know not everyone did. Okay, yeah, okay. So thank you for looking for that clarification. I just realized not everyone joined me for the implementation session, but you have access to replays. It was good. It was really good. All right, so let's break it down a little bit. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to dive into coverage D with you. So don't worry, nobody's going to be left behind. All right, but let me explain it to you a little bit. If you were to pull your homeowner's insurance policy today and you head over into the breakdown of the coverages, there's coverage A, B, C, D, etc. Coverage A is the actual structure rebuild value. Coverage D is the amount of money you have available to rent out a property per year if your property is deemed uninhabitable, okay? And coverage D is typically around 20 to 30% of the structure's rebuild value. Therefore, I have my rule of 25, so I say 25% of it, okay? So for me, Yes, purchasing a property for $175,000, yeah, all day, every day, I would love that. However, if that's what the market demands, I'm limiting my ability to get to my 100K, right? So I would rather purchase in a market where there's a lot of $400,000 homes. As a matter of fact, I will purchase in a market that has $1 million homes, but I use my millionaire next door strategy where I'm just gonna go next county over. And so all the $1 million homes, 11 bedrooms, they rent from me because I'm the only game in town that understands what it is that they need. And instead of going off of my $400,000 coverage, it's going off of the $1 million coverage. And that's why you're seeing these $28,000. Like we had someone in an 11 bedroom home that rented out our 6-bedroom home. Parkwoods, they came from an 11 bedroom home. Who has a furnished 11 bedroom home? I don't. Not in that market. In the Poconos, we have a 13, but not in that market. But the 6-bedroom home, they were more than happy because they were in a hotel. The family said, imagine cooking for a family of 10 in a Hilton hotel. That's what the mom said to me. She was crying. She was livid. Like she has an 11-bedroom home. They've got the chicken. They've got all the things. Like I said, I don't live too far from here. So they stuck them in a hotel. No. They tried to bring, they did bring the ducks to the hotel and they got kicked out because it was Easter. They had the little baby ducks. They're like, all right. So that's a high level coverage. You're getting a taste tomorrow. I'll show you the breakdown of what that looks like. Okay. Okay, but like I said, guys, we're going deep into the key decisions because I feel like this is your living document. You're gonna go back and revisit it every now and then, and I want you to edit it liberally, continue to edit it, okay? We're gonna go deep into taxes tomorrow when we speak with Ryan Bakey so that, you can have that conversation with him as well, which is great. All right, so from there, what is your priority in terms of your return metrics? What is your priority in terms of your return metrics? Is it cash on cash return? What does cash on cash return do for me? Here's how I want you to think about cash on cash return. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Cash on cash return in layman's terms tells me how quickly can I get my money back so I can buy the next property? How quickly can I get my money back so that I can buy the next property? That's what cash on cash return does for me. Okay, you have the formula. Cash flow is how quickly can I quit my job? How quickly can I quit my job, right? That is what cash flow means, right? Appreciation and tax benefits, those are primarily for our, I would say, higher income earning individuals who are looking for massive tax breaks because, say, for instance, they're making $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year, and Uncle Sam is taking 50% of that, right? And so they come to me and they say, Rachel, I don't care if I don't make any cash flow. Could you please help me out with Uncle Sam and get him out of my pocket for 2 minutes? So that's a different motivation, right? And then there are others who just want to have that generational wealth and they're planning out for the future and they want to leave assets for the next generation. And that's their primary goal. So they're looking for appreciation, properties that are going to appreciate over time, and that's for them. So where are you today? What is your immediate priority? Is it cash on cash return? Is it cash flow? Is it appreciation? Is it tax benefits? Because based on those priorities, it better helps me to inform you the type of property, the price point, the location of the property. There are some properties that have better tax bonus depreciation than others, depending on the market, right? So for instance, bonus depreciation, I get a better tax break from our Tennessee properties than our beach properties in Florida because the price point, the value of the property in Tennessee is located within the structure of the property. The value of the beach properties is the land, and land is not depreciable. Does that make sense? You can't depreciate land. So the land is expensive. The house is right? It's still pricey, but it's not as expensive as the land. In Tennessee, the land is not as expensive. So I'll get a better tax break on the Tennessee because the house is depreciable. So if I have a $700,000 property on the beach, $700,000 property in Tennessee. The structure is more expensive in Tennessee. It might be worth $600,000. On the beach, the structure might be worth $300,000. Because the land value. Because the land, yeah. The land is the other $400,000. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so when the engineer comes out to do the cost segregation study, they just section off the property, to see what they can depreciate. Well, what percentage can they depreciate off of 300,000 versus 600,000? There's going to be more meat left on my Tennessee bone than the beach property. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? Yeah. Okay, awesome. So if you come to me and you say, Rachel, I need a tax break, like I said, I have a psychologist from Oahu, trauma surgeon from Connecticut, and they need the tax break. I say, okay, let's get some Tennessee properties, right? And there's like beach or Tennessee. I said, let's get you some Tennessee properties. So that's why this question is important. It helps to inform me how best to help you. But I would imagine most people are like, just give me my cash flow and let's go, or I need a cash on cash return. Everyone's scenario is different. So I want to ask to make sure I'm supporting you every step of the way. All right, key decision number 6. We are moving along. Key decision number 6 is the last one. It's heavy. It's the last one we're going to cover. And then we're going to give you a few minutes to complete 4, 5, and 6. 4, you're pretty much done. Just a couple things to check off. 5, we just talked about your gross revenue goals. And then 6, we are covering our investing, our 4 key strategies, okay? Which is our acquisition, marketing, operations, optimization. All right, for your first or your next short-term, midterm rental preference, what type of property are you thinking about? Are you thinking about you want a turnkey property, one that's already a short-term rental or a midterm rental, fully furnished, good to go? Is that your approach? Or are you thinking of a property that needs a little bit of lipstick, where you can paint, update some fixtures and get it going? Or are you that type of person that loves doing rehabs? You may have a construction company on the side, or your partner may have a construction company. You want to do a full kitchen remodel, bathroom remodel, or are you looking for construction from the ground up, or you're just open to all options? Go ahead and select one. Just select one. We're talking about your next investing move. Which one do you prefer the most? And we'll do that in your turn section. I will warn you, the turnkey ones that are fully furnished, I love putting a little bit of lipstick on because I can force appreciation. The fully furnished turnkey ones, I will warn you to watch carefully. Watch out for those. A lot of times the owners, they tend to believe, oh, because it's turnkey, it's got all the furniture, I'm gonna charge you an extra $100,000 or more, and then the furniture is garbage. And now, not only did I pay more, now I gotta go and pay for, what do you call it? The garbage people. Like they come and they bring the dumpster. I have to order a dumpster to just throw all of the furnishings out because it was really poorly done. So I haven't seen a turnkey that has gone well. So I will warn you. Annette, do you agree? Or? It was good? Okay, so Annette has better luck than I do. That's good, that's good. But at the end of the day, inspecting is the key. I would inspect before you go all in. And the thing too is when we were purchasing, a lot of the properties we were purchasing were, I would say back in the day where there wasn't a lot of this short-term rental, midterm rental education out there. And so I remember going into the Poconos. This is when I knew I was going to destroy the Poconos. When I went into the Poconos and there were no linens on the beds. There's no toilet paper in the bathroom. Having to use the fast food. Thank God there was a piece of napkin in the middle of the night. Right. I was like, oh, I'm coming for you, Poconos. We bought everything up. We put linens, and they were like, linens? Yes. The guests, they knew to bring, BYOL, bring your own linens. And you're going to see, even in this, I know this is a beautiful space, even in some of these properties, some of them are new construction. So there's going to be things that are lacking. You're going to say, you know what, I actually think I could do a little bit better than that. right? So to me, yeah, I wasn't a happy camper, but I was sold. I was sold. I'm about to come in and tear up this market because that was the secret sauce, putting some extra effort into this market. Yeah, and so there was a lot of old furniture. I had a lot of bad experiences with turnkey. So be very, very watchful. Next up, acquisition. Based on my financial goals and market conditions, what criteria should I use to select my next real estate investment? I'll look for properties that are undervalued, located in growing neighborhoods. What are some things that you're thinking of? Feel free to write as much as you would like in the section. Over the course of the weekend, you'll get more insights throughout as well. Next up, I have narrowed down my strategy and key decision number 4. Now it's time to select my most ideal approach. Is it ownership, arbitrage, co-host, passive investing? Okay, I think we kind of repeated that, but that is the ultimate acquisition. That's how you intend on acquiring your next property. Next up, what strategic steps should I follow to reach my target financial goals in real estate? I plan to diversify my portfolio, investing in residential and commercial, focusing on properties in growth areas, etc. Jot down your initial acquisition thoughts there. And lastly, for those of you who already have a property, so for current landlords and owners only, given my financial goals and current market value, do I have a property right now that I should consider selling in the near future? Oof, right? That's kind of a gut punch. So for some of you, you may be in a situation, we spoke a little bit earlier about the return on equity audit. So I have a couple examples in here that you might want to ponder upon. It says I should consider selling a property that has a lot of equity and is now contributing significantly to my cash flow. Say you're paying a mortgage of $2,500 a month and you're putting it on the long-term rental market for $2,600 a month. The house has $100,000 in equity. In order to achieve $100,000 in cash flow in your pocket, it'll take 83.3 years to achieve that cash flow of that return of $100,000. So your return on equity audit is going to help you to determine that. So during the Your Turn section, if that is your situation, I would love for you to go through this activity and actually do a return on equity audit. Identify an estimate of how much equity that you may have in a property divided by your cash profit on a monthly basis to determine how many years of return you will get. So for those of you who have a unique scenario, write out the unique scenario. And throughout this weekend, we're going to workshop those scenarios. What is the return on equity audit looking for long term, since you don't have a mortgage on it? So
You keep saying that term, how do I do that equity audit?
yeah, so how much equity do you have in the property?
Oh, like the CAD value on it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's-
how much, if you were to sell it completely today, how much would you take home,
Okay.
right? So we would look at how much you would take home, and then say your rent, you're bringing in, for round numbers, $1,000 a month, right? Just for round numbers, just the sake of round numbers, okay? How long would it take you to make that amount that you would take home if you sold it today, based off of the $1,000 per month that's coming in, okay? And that's when, if it's, I think if it's 80 years, like I don't want that, but if it's, several years, then it's a deal, it's a good deal. So we would actually execute on 3 different scenarios. Well, what would it look like for a midterm rental? What would it look like for a short-term rental? What would it look like for a long-term rental? Okay, yeah. So that's good. So write out your scenario, write out the numbers, write out like what the property's worth if you were to sell it, how much you're going to put in your pocket, and then jot down what's your monthly revenue that's coming in right now, net, okay? After all expenses are paid, okay? All right, next up, marketing. Which platforms do you plan to use once you launch your property? Which platforms do you plan to use once you launch your property? Next up, management. What is your management approach? Are you going to do it yourself? Are you going to use in-house resort management? Are you going to use a property manager? Are you going to hire a co-host, or you don't quite know yet? Highly recommend you do it yourself. Once you launch in 2024 to take advantage of the 60% bonus depreciation, which phases out. It phases down to 40% next year, then it phases out. So self-manage. Ryan Bakey is going to be teaching us about that tomorrow. So we got to get the property into service before the end of 2024. And last but not least, optimization. Optimization. So what are some effective strategies to optimize cash flow for my real estate investing? So the reason I have this here is I never want you to feel stuck. Once you've launched, you have an opportunity to troubleshoot, to optimize. No 2 days are the same, right? Some days we're getting inquiries like gangbusters, and some days it feels a little bit quiet. Well, why is it quiet? I go back to my handy dandy workbook and I go through my optimization. What do I need to do to optimize to improve it? Okay, can I adjust my demand pricing? Could I add a few little upgrades? Could I charge some pet fees? As far as reducing my operating costs, do I have a preventative maintenance plan available? Can I add some and expand my revenue streams, and so on and so forth, okay? There's no scenario where I think it's okay for you to just sit around in an empty property. That is my biggest pet peeve. So every week when we have our mastermind coaching calls, my first question is, hey, how are you? How are the properties doing? Like, who's in the house right now? Everybody, oh, it's kind of empty. What? Why is it sitting empty? Right? We don't let up, right? We want nice, juicy bookings, and then 60 days out from that booking getting vacating, we need our next nice, juicy booking. That is the goal.
How far do you open your calendar up?
5 years, all the way.
So that thing you said before, though, about keeping with the midterm rentals, but not having too many short-term rentals loading. So you manage those not getting too full with the pricing?
With the tool.
With the tool.
Yeah, because it tracks and it follows the calendar along. It's open all the way up. That's how we stay booked. Yeah. And we have a few tools. We have a few proprietary tools that we have access to troubleshoot. And we'll be doing a property audit so I can share with you how we troubleshoot. So if somebody says, I'm not getting any bookings, all right, let's troubleshoot what's going on. So we want to know, number one, is the property even ranking? Is it on page 1 or page 17? When was the last time you looked on Google and went to page 17 to find anything? If it's not on page 1 in the first hit, as people here in America, we're not looking on page 2. So if your property's on page 2, page 7, you're not going to be found. Right? So we need to understand, well, where are you ranking? And so we use a ranking tool to find that out. Okay? We use our pricing strategies. We'll add discounts in a way that appear to be discounted. However, it's not quite because we lifted the price on another platform. So there's strategy. I just never want you to feel like, oh, I'm stuck and I'm just going to sit here and just kind of lament. And no, that's not what's happening. That is not what happens inside of our community. Okay? Okay, so that is a wrap. We have 10 minutes to do it yourself. Question for Naomi.
So you have a midterm rental for the next year.
Nice.
Well, I'm sorry, hypothetical.
Uh-huh. Oh, I'm receiving it already. Nice. Put it out there. Listen, hang on. Where's my clapper? Yes, Julie.
Okay, so I have a midterm rental for the next year.
Yes, sir.
Do insurance companies book out 2 years in advance?
No, they book out 1 month in advance.
Okay.
They book out. Are you guys understanding that? They approach you and they say, I need the property for 1 month. But because of what I'm going to teach you tomorrow, you're going to say, sure, you want it for 1 month. You're going to block your calendar for 13 months because you know fire damage in your market takes 9 to 13 months. They're going to tell you they want 1 month. They never stay for 1 month. Oh, it's water damage. That's about 8 months. Cool. You block it out, right? You prepare because you're smarter, right? You're a host. You're a professional host that knows exactly how this works. They will never book for a year.
How do you gauge the extent of the damage? Because it's a fire, but it could be contained to one room or a portion of the house, and same thing with water.
Yeah.
So how would you, can you do this?
We've had, yeah, absolutely. I actually have a script called the Roll Out the Red Carpet inside of our mastermind where I talk about how to have that conversation. Oh no, Mrs. Smith, you said there was a fire? And it went to the master bedroom. How many bedrooms did it go into? Okay, she's got 6 bedrooms. And you said it was, you know? So you're empathetically getting the information. Absolutely. And during the check-in period, so we're checking in with them on a monthly basis and we're getting a gauge of how it's going. Once they're in your house, you want to check, hey, how's the contractor working out? And so you get a gauge on, oh my gosh, we had to go and find another one. I'm so sorry, we might have to spend. Oh, really? You already knew. And you know the contractors in your market, they don't show up to work. Sadly, I'm no offense, but in my market, it is hard to get a contractor to show up, right? And then the permitting, oh, that never happened. So there were delays. I remember, Ruben, your booking, it was $40,000. You were happy. You walked away with $63,000 because they kept having to extend, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say on average, probably 3 to 4 extensions.
Yeah, I got 11 extensions once. Yeah. So they don't book for a month. They don't book for a year. They'll book for a month initially, but it is you that holds the key to the knowledge to advocate on behalf of that clientele to understand, oh, I better, block my calendar out for a year because I'm going to behave as a professional resource for them. One of the biggest disconnects, and it's ironic, they get really upset and agitated when a host says, oh, I've got some bookings, they have to leave. And I get it. And they've done that. A lot of Airbnb hosts kick these people out on month 2 because they weren't prepared. They don't know better, right? And so that's why the insurance companies love working with me. They're like, oh yeah, Rachel, she knows what she's doing. She's got you covered, right? And so you want to present yourself, right? Yeah, unlimited extensions. Once you start the conversation with unlimited extensions, don't worry. They know what they're talking about because that is a big pain point for them.